Okay, so now here's some of the threads you can use. You can use a 30 weight, 100% cotton, and that's these two. You can use a 40 weight, 100% cotton Metler. Here is a sulky 12 weight. And then you can use embroidery thread, which I use often because it has a beautiful shine. And that's threads. You can use basically anything. Okay, and you can see that I draw on it with water-soluble white or friction pens dark. There's lots of different kinds. Just make sure you've tried them out. And they'll iron off or wash off. Oh, you can't even see the label on that. That one you can. Dritz. I like Dritz a lot. Okay. The way I have this set up is so I get the best view is with the good camera, not the front facing, so I can't stop it quickly or anything like that. I'm Melinda Griffin. I'm a member of the Stitch in Heavens, Woodland Creatures, Applique group, and just going to show you some stitches on the Bernina today and on the Brother Baby Lock tomorrow. It's the same either way. They're just different feet and some different settings over here. I don't know if you can see this settings, but I should put it, I should check real quick and see if you can see them. Rhodey, quiet down, bug. There we go. Maybe like that. You can see both. I'll just tell you the settings. How about that? I'm gonna use most of the time when you start applique, you use an 80-12 needle, nice sharp needle. And it makes a, you know, or a smaller one, but it makes a smaller hole and get more productive and go faster in the stitches. But I'm using the 12 weight, and you just cannot use the 80-12, it breaks all the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the 12 weight. I know the opening videos, I didn't introduce myself or anything like that, but I did mention the 12 weights and the 30 weights and the 40 weights and embroidery thread. I use embroidery thread all the time, and that's what I normally do is embroidery, so I have a lot of that. This I'm going to use on like I think I'm going to use this on some of the leaves just for fun. It's nice, it's got a lot of blue in it, but I don't mind. I don't know, but I'm going to use on a lot of the plain fabric, I'm going to use a lot of thread, decorative thread and decorative stitches. To me it's fun, why not? I always say less is more, but it never turns out that way. So okay, off to the races. So the first stitch that everybody teaches for this kind of thing is an applique stitch used in quilting, and it looks like an E, and we're going to do a sample. And there's two different kinds. You can go left or right, you can go in or out, but there's two different types. There's a double, some have even a triple in my other machine, but you can do a double or a triple, and sometimes I like it to, and I'll show you the difference between the two before we even start, because I sometimes like to use the double because I'm going to be washing it a lot, or I want to be able to wash it more often. Applique, you don't want to wash as much as normal quilting, but with the single one, and if I only take a teeny bite, and I'll show you what that means, I'm not going to be able to wash it. It's going to be a wall hanging, and that's it. And So here is what that stitch looks like. I'll do a few. This is the double. It's a lot. That's a lot of thread. And it's wide. You can make it any width you want and any length you want. I normally do mine 3 and 3. 3 width and 3 length. This one is 3.5. This exact one here. So a single would look like this. Goes faster. And it looks really thick because I have the 12 weight thread in. It'll be a lot thinner with the 30 weight. So doubling with the 30 weight really is nice. So remember that. Or the 40 weight embroidery thread. With this one, it's just doubled down the center row and just one bite. And that's what they mean by a bite, when it takes a bite. Here is your, let me grab a pen really quick. Here is your applique piece right here. And you want this to take a bite of your applique piece. And some people don't, you know, less is more. They don't want very much. They're gonna want a really lightweight thread, like 40 weight. Sometimes cotton, sometimes polyester. Polyester, we all know, lasts the longest. But we love cotton. And cotton isn't as shiny in a lot of brands. And that's kind of nice sometimes too. But if you can see that, what I mean by that. For me, I'm going to do quite a thick all the way around this rabbit, just for fun. I want it to be real thick and all the way around. And shoot, I'm going to use almost this whole reddish brown color. And I'm going to lay that there just to make sure we're set up right. And in fact, I am using a 100 thread. Yes, you can see that. 100 needle instead of a jean needle at 90. I just want it to go smoothly, but beware, you go anything up above 90, it's got a big hole. It's gonna be putting a big hole in your quilt. I usually use 90-15s in for quilting anyway, so I'm gonna see what this one looks like, and if it's too much, then I'll go back to my 90. I was having some problems breaking thread yesterday, and I thought maybe it was my machine, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So I'll show you the way this looks. Okay, I'm gonna do 3 and 3, just like what I said I like to do. Maybe 3.5 and 3. 3.5 length, go down a little longer, but 3 millimeters in. So once again, I'm going to see what this 100 needle looks like, poking holes in my stuff, in my fabric, but it should be fine. I usually use a 90 for the 12 weight thread. Okay. Oh, and another thing, if you have one of these, I can't get up and turn the camera, but if you've got a knee lifter, this is where it'll really help you turning your fabric. Just start out real slow, and I already talked about the foot, and once again I'll say it's the applique foot, and you can use any foot you want, but you need it to be wide enough for if you're going to do decorative stitches. So, and the knee thing is quite nice, and I accidentally pushed my pedal when I used it, but anyway, the knee lifter is quite nice. Going around corners, especially. And I also have a, my bobbin in there is black, and they suggest a 30 weight to go with a 12 weight thread. but go ahead and use whatever bobbin thread you want, but I'm using black just because of the dark background and dark thread. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift it and turn. You'll get the rhythm pretty soon, and you'll know how to kind of slowly turn it as you go. Okay, so if you can see what I'm doing here is I am having the outside edge, the straight edge, be my outline, and I'm just taking a bite out of the fabric, a big one at that. But also, if I let this outside line go any more in, you'll see your fabric start to fray, like you're chomping into your fabric. And I do that a lot because I'll go too fast, and I'll end up chomping into my fabric and really making a mess of it. So it's looking pretty good right here, and I thought I might try some of the thinner thread, that's the word, thinner threads right now, and we can change to that real quick and show you some stitches I want to do on that. But I'm gonna get an ending point here. Just do a few more here. Real slow around corners. If you don't have the knee lifter, just stop and lift it up. Pretty soon you'll learn how your tension is on the pressure of your foot and how you can just slowly turn it like that as you're sewing. I hope you can see that without my hand in the way. And then going to turn around like that. This way, and you'll just have to learn on your own on the corners. Nobody's ever going to know. Nobody's going to come up and look that close to it to see if you made your corner correctly. And I told you that I was in a hurry and I ripped all these out last week, and I thought, oh, why did I do that? So that's why I made that video on how not to do that. So you can actually get going pretty fast with this. Just kind of let it do its thing all the way around this. Can't really see that one. All those frayed edges are gone now because I'm going all the way right through them with a lot of thick thread. And so I'm going to go ahead and tie it off. And I do need to glue this down more, don't I? And there you go. That's the big thick, guys. I can do a thinner one like around my sleeves here. But I thought I would try a thin one, the thread that most people have. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Most people have like a cotton or a 30 or 40 weight. This leaf. That's good. I'm going to use a 40 weight embroidery thread around these guys here. Let you know what that looks like. And actually, quickly, I'm going to change my needle out because I do not need to make that big of a hole. So we can just use a 90-14 or an 80-12. Quickly put this little guy in. I was just outside and it's cold here in Florida. And your choice of color, you'll get to know whatever choice of color you want. I like all colors. I like to bring out these leaves so that you can see them. I like to, and I meant to shove that one down in there. Now I've got a little bump in the road to fix. Sometimes I want to bring out the leaves, and sometimes I just want them to sink into the background and I don't want to make them show up. But this way, it's almost doing that. So I'm going to start just right here, and I'll show you the double and the single on here. I'll just leave it in, take a little less bite out of it, like a 2.5. Stay at a, yeah, the 90 is making a pretty big hole, but that's okay. Cut this out of my way. Turn it, needle down. I can get going pretty fast with this one. Yeah. Now I'm gonna just tie it off here, and I'm gonna show you the thin one. I can go back over this. And I can show you that the needle is taking a pretty big hole. You can see it right through the light. You can't see it over here with the dark. And you probably couldn't see it because I'm putting so much thread in it. That big 12 weight thread. You'll never see the hole. Here I'm seeing it, so I think I'd go change to the 80-12. And also, am I saying that right? 80, yeah. There is my top stitch. They're a top stitch needle. Yeah, just an 80-12. I have tons of these in here like that. And then different ones for like jersey. Those are a round tip, ball tip. And I'm using, these are all sharp tips. It just makes it go through, pierce through a little easier. But let's switch to the, just to show you the difference with the 80-12 needle. I put that one in there too tight. Let's grab it. Let's grab one. Schmidt's Microtex. Since I think most people are going to be using these. And with a smaller width of than I have here of thread, and quite thick thread. I love the 12 weight. If you're going to be decorative, I just love that. I think the 12 weight thread is equal to 2 or 3 strands of, if you're buying your applique thread, embroidery thread in strands. Okay, there we go. So let's look at the difference here. Let's come down this path. And when I do that, I just go backwards. Let's change it to go inside out there. You're going to notice a big difference in the hole size. Even though it's just one needle size up, you're still going to notice a difference, especially for this. I'm going to tie it off here. Some people, when they're quilting, they bury it, which they call bury. That means a process which you are going to take it in between the two layers, and I just do that in quilting. Some people still do it in applique, and I cannot remember what it's called in applique. But you'll be able to see this. Look at the difference in just one size of needle. See those holes? And then these there. And I have not yet put on a backing on this. I wanted to show you that too. I haven't put a backing on here yet, and I am going to put a backing on here. I just got my stretch backing, Pellin 101 stretch, and I'm going to put that on the back because I do so many thick stitches. You can, the reason I knew there wasn't any backing is I can see it's already starting to pucker around all that heavy thread that I'm going to lay down. So that's why I'm going to do that. But otherwise you don't have to. And you know how I'm going to fix this? I'm going to just cut it. And then when I bring it down, I can just sew it on. You know, I can just go like this and sew him right into the little stalk here. Yep. And then I can just cut this part out. Right like that. And just cut these little guys out. But I think that's my first one without doing the decorative stitch. I don't want to keep you on here too long. Why don't you ask questions on our thread, because I will never look at my YouTube channel. I'm going to try to upload this to our group and hope that they let me do that. And if not, then I'll just put a link to my YouTube channel. I just would rather not put it on YouTube because I won't answer any questions there. Otherwise, I think that's it for the regular stitches and thread. The regular applique stitch. I will do some decorative stitching on my Bernina tomorrow. I do a ton of decorative stitching on here also. And I will, just a sec, and I will, and, oops, there we go. On here, real quick, I'll go through, like here's some decorative stitches I've saved in my little pocket here of my little Bernina. Let's see, which one was I at? I put a bunch of them in here, I thought. Yes, here's one. I've got a ton of different stitches I've used in my last one that I was working on. So, you know, fun different stitches that we're using on my last, or I was using on my last quilt. But that is, when I was saying switch directions, if I'm coming up a branch and I'm coming back down the branch, you can just switch it, just like that. Most machines will let you invert either way. I'm not sure what they call it for reals, but I think it's an inversion. I think that's it. I think that was the questions that somebody else asked, but I will do some more decorative stitching on the other machine. And that is it in my messy table of stuff. I didn't want to be unreal and clean everything up. Okay, thanks you guys. Bye. The last thing I did want to say as a quick note is I don't think it matters where you start, but I start in the middle, sort of close to the middle, just like I would a quilt. Not for the same reasons, but and some for the same reasons of puckering and letting the fabric come out, you know, slowly push the fabric in outward directions instead of, you know, going left or right. You know, I think it makes a difference. I'm not sure. But that's my take on, you know, doing a ton of applique quilts so far. The other thing I was going to quickly say is after I put on the backing, I'll still be working on this one for decorative stitches tomorrow on the Baby Lock or Brother. It's same machine, Baby Lock or Brother, basically. Same feet. Okay, thank you. Okay, and before I start sewing, I every time I take a lint brush and I go over it for lint, especially on the dark fabric. And then I choose, I'm going to do kind of a cool red for him on the outline. And, you know, sometimes on thin stuff, variegated, and especially when you don't have a lot of color in here, I'm going to take the opportunity to use thread. Now, I made a video on fraying. Well, I was in a hurry. And this is what happens when you're in a hurry. But I'll be able to sew it all down. And everything I do sew, I sew pretty thick because I want to be able to wash it. And it's not just going to be a wall hanging. And so a lot of times people want to just take a little bite of each in an applique stitch. And you'll see that I do a lot because I don't want it to come up. Somebody asked about pens, marking. I love Dritz. This one's a water soluble. Friction irons off. I've never had a problem with it ironing off. Test it. Everybody has comments about it, but I have it where I've drawn, you know, just estimated lines where I'm gonna sew and add decorative stuff, different stitches. I also make these Lori Holt boards to hold my stuff. This one is nice and big, and I can just pile them on here. She has a thing that you can just make them yourself on YouTube. Okay, as for feet, I use different feet, but mostly on both machines, the Bernina and the Baby Lock, or the Brother or Baby Lock. I use the embroidery feet. It's a nice wide toe to do decorative stitches. This one's really nice in the Bernina. I don't know if you can see it down there. It's a 34C. I use this one a lot. I have 9mm wide stitches on this and only 7 on my Brother, so I use this a lot. But the Brother does have decorative stitches that go up to 20mm apart, so if you really want to go crazy, you can definitely do that. Okay, so now here's some of the threads you can use. You can use a 30 weight, 100% cotton, and that's these two. You can use a 40 weight, 100% cotton Metler. Here is a sulky 12 weight. And then you can use embroidery thread, which I use often because it has a beautiful shine. And that's threads. You can use basically anything. Okay, and you can see that I draw on it with water-soluble, white, or friction pens, dark. There's lots of different kinds. Just make sure you've tried them out. And they'll iron off or wash off. Oh, you can't even see the label on that. That one you can. Dritz. I like Dritz a lot.